I think this might be one of the most talked about fantasy books. I have never read Brandon Sanderson, and I really want to dive into his worlds. I adore the movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. For the votes, this was a close one. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy to have you here, and welcome to all my new subscribers that have joined the chat since my last video of where to buy cheap books. I will link that somewhere if I can figure out how. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my usual TBRs. As you can tell by the title of this video, I have asked my Instagram friends and followers to choose my TBR for August. Firstly, to give credit where credit's due, I saw this video originally done by Sarah Carolee here on YouTube. I thought it was really fun the way she did it, and I'm inspired by that today, so just wanted to shout her out. So the way this works is on my Instagram story, I posted a variety of stories, and they were in the form of a poll. My followers had two options to pick from, 2 to 3 emojis that I think represented the book choices, whether it's based off the cover or what I know about the plot. My Instagram followers didn't really have anything to go off of but emojis. So it is a pretty blind picking, which is, I think, what makes it fun. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the 6 books that I'll be reading in August based off what my Instagram followers picked. I wanted my TBR to have as much variety as possible, so each book pick on my story was a different genre. There were 2 books in that genre that my followers were going to pick from. Our first pick for August is going to be a fantasy read. For the first fantasy option, we have these emojis. And for the second fantasy option for August, we have these emojis. And the book that goes with the first set of emojis is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. And the second pick that goes with the second set of emojis is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. So for Sword of Kaigen, based on the kind of synopsis of the story, it is a standalone fantasy book, which actually both of these books are standalone fantasies. I did that on purpose because I feel like I need to read more standalone fantasies rather than get into even more series. So it is a military fantasy, and it is set in a remote mountain village, hence the mountain. And there are these ice weavers, I guess, hence the snow. And it's obviously during some sort of war, so they're defending their territory. I don't really want to read too much more about it, but that's kind of the general gist. And then Tress of the Emerald Sea is about a girl who ends up stowing away on a ship to save her friend from a sorceress. And it's more of a whimsical fantasy from the vibes I'm getting. So obviously the green dot, emerald, the sea, because she's on the sea, and the pirate flag, because she's on a ship. But I don't know if it's a pirate ship. I have never read Brandon Sanderson, and I really want to dive into his worlds. I have heard that this is a great first book to read of Brandon Sanderson's. We had 22 votes for Tress of the Emerald Sea and 26 votes for The Sword of Kaigen. So we'll be reading The Sword of Kaigen in August. I have read one of her other books, Blood Over Brighthaven. It's one of my favorite fantasies because it just had such a unique world and magic system. I think M.L. Wong does a really great job of writing standalone fiction, especially fantasy fiction. I think this might be one of the most talked about fantasy books, at least for me personally. The second genre that I went for in August was a mystery thriller. The first set of emojis I put in the poll for my Instagram followers are these 3 emojis. And the second set of emojis are these 2 emojis. So for the 2 brides and the groom, that is My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. From what I know about My Husband's Wife, a woman goes out for a run, and then when she comes back, she can't get into her house. And when she knocks on the door, a completely different woman answers the door and claims that she's the owner of this house. She claims that she is this man's wife and not the lady who went on the run. And then for the cross out emoji and the ID emoji, I have That's Not My Name by Megan Lally. This one has been on my TBR for a minute. Like, this needs to get read. And this is also my coworker's copy, so I need to give it back to her. Wait, what? So That's Not My Name seems to follow 2 separate plots. It says on the back that a teen wakes up on the side of a dirt road with no memory of how she got there. And then a man comes to the police station claiming to be her father, and he has her school ID, her birth certificate, and family photos to prove that. We don't know if this man is actually her father. And then it also says that a girl named Lola goes missing when she is driving with her boyfriend, and they're convinced that the boyfriend did it. I think that's why I've been putting this off, is because I don't really understand the premise, but maybe that's a good sign. For the votes, My Husband's Wife received 21 votes, and That's Not My Name received 24 votes. This was a close one. It's looking like That's Not My Name will be my second pick for August, my thriller mystery. Our third pick for the August TBR is going to be a classic. Our first set of emojis is a man with a beard, a crown, and a key. And our second set of emojis is a brain, the two little dancing girls, and then a hat with a bow on it. So for the dark-haired, bearded man, the crown, and the key, I have The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. The Count of Monte Cristo is about a man, Edmond Dantes, who is banished to this prison on an island, and he meets a man in prison who they kind of devise this escape plan together, and he has this dream of becoming a count. That's why I put the crown, although I don't think counts wear crowns, but that was kind of the closest that I could get to count. And then, of course, the key, because he's locked in prison. I mean, this doesn't look like that big of a book from this particular copy, but this book is long and the font in this book is really tiny. I've seen the movie and I adore the movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. This just needs to be read and needs to be read soon. And for the second book, the second set of emojis, I have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. The brain, because have some sense. And the two girls, because I think it's about two sisters. And then little hat, because I thought it kind of gave the Jane Austen vibes. How beautiful is this copy? Obviously, I'm in my Jane Austen era. I have read Pride and Prejudice and I've read Emma, and I enjoyed both of them. I prefer Pride and Prejudice, but I really wanted to get to this book before the new movie comes out with Daisy Edgar-Jones. So like I said, Sense and Sensibility follows two sisters who kind of think in different ways. So one sister thinks more with sense, like logical, and one sister thinks with a little bit more emotion and passion. And I believe they go through some financial hardship with their family and experience different love stories and kind of navigate those new circumstances while also having a sister going through the same thing. And as someone with an older sister, I think that I will relate very much to this book. So looking forward to that if this one wins. With 18 votes was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. And with 25 votes was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I really wanted to read Count of Monte Cristo, and this was my excuse. But that's okay. I will get to The Count of Monte Cristo at some point. Maybe I'll even vlog it. We'll see. For pick number 4, I wanted a book that still had summer vibes because I want to relish and cherish summer as long as I can. It is my favorite season. This one is specifically a summer pick. Also, I didn't want to be obnoxious, so I just added these last 3 choices to my close friend story. So there are much fewer votes on these. Our first set of emojis are these emojis, and the emojis representing book 2 are these emojis. The 7 sunset and clock is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and the graph with the arrow and the sea is Slanting Towards the Sea by Lydia Hillier. 7 Days in June is about 2 people who fell in love when they were teenagers and grew apart, and both of them ended up becoming authors, and they reference the other and this teenage passionate love in their stories, and then one day they reconnect, which sounds right up my alley. When you're meant to be, and you come together no matter the odds, which I love that trope. Is that a trope? Is it a trope to, I guess, childhood love? That's probably a trope. Slanting Towards the Sea is also similar in the sense that it's about someone who is kind of reconnecting with her past. In that story, we're following a woman who grew up in Croatia and goes back to Croatia for a summer after getting a divorce 10 years prior. And I think she also has to confront some things from her past while also caring for her father who is ill. I think we're looking at two separate timelines of when her and her ex-husband first met and their love story, and then also her current uneventful life that she's living. I really love that both of these are true summer reads, and I really didn't care which book won for this category because they both give such summer vibes to me that I know I'll be happy either way. With 5 votes was 7 Days in June, and with 7 votes was Slanting Towards the Sea. I did end up ordering Slanting Towards the Sea from the library, so hopefully that comes in soon before I can kind of dive into all my books for August. The next category I wanted to include in my August TBR was a romance read. I'm really trying to get more into romance. I'm trying to branch out and look for romances that I would still be intrigued by the plot, because I do need some plot. I need some plot. I need some drama. The first emoji choice were these 2 emojis, and the second emoji choice were these 3. For the blue dot and the castle, that is The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. And then the motorcycle, the wing, and the wolf is the book Wolf. Wolf.e. I don't know if it's just Wolf or Wolf E. I'm not sure. But it's by Paisley Hope. So The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery follows a woman who is living in this interesting family dynamic where she doesn't feel like she has a say and everyone's kind of controlling her life. But when a doctor tells her she only has a year to live, she starts living her truth and maybe rebelling a little bit more than she would have if she wasn't expected to die. It's basically a story about a woman trying to live on her own terms. And then for Wolf by Paisley Hope, it's a dark motorcycle romance, which I don't think I've ever read. Have I even read a dark romance? Actually don't know. I've definitely never read a motorcycle romance, so might be a first for everything here. Okay, so this one seems to be about good girl meets bad boy vibe. This woman returns to her Georgia hometown and meets this leader of a motorcycle gang who is apparently deeply traumatized, not sure from what. So let's see which one won. With 5 votes is Blue Castle. And with a whopping 8 votes, Wolf by Paisley Hope. I know that for sure is on Hoopla as an audiobook, and it's ready and available, so maybe I'll start that one first. My goodness. Sitting cross-legged for over an hour is not good for the body, I would guess. Not a doctor. I'm going to stretch out real quick. Our last genre that I wanted to be sure that I read in August is a sci-fi dystopian read. First set of emojis are these 3 emojis. Second set of emojis that my followers had to pick from were these 3 emojis. So the DNA strand, the thought bubble, and the microscope are Recursion by Blake Crouch, which I just got in my video I just put out last, which was my thrifting books video. Here she is, if you want to go see where I got this from, because I surely got it not for full price. I got it for $2. So check out my last video if you want to see where I bought this. And yeah, this one has just been talked about so much, and it's time that I read a Blake Crouch novel. The DNA strand was more of like an infinity sign. That's what I was going for. The thought bubble because people are thinking, and then the microscope because it involves scientists, I think. So this one follows a New York detective as well as a neuroscientist trying to figure out this weird kind of disease that's spreading that causes people to have memories that are not their own, which, yeah, yes, please. That sounds right up my alley. So my second sci-fi dystopian choice is very similar to Recursion. It is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. And in this story, we have an island where random everyday objects are disappearing, and the memory police come and they hunt down people who still have memories tied to these physical items. Something as simple as like a rose. It is affecting everyone but one person. I think this lady hides the person who it's not affecting in her home and tries to get answers from them. Which again, what? Like, who comes up with these concepts? I swear I would love to be a writer. I will say I've had some interesting dreams that I think I could turn into a book, but I wouldn't know where to start. Alrighty, so for our final August TBR pick, we have 4 votes for The Memory Police, and we have 8 votes for Recursion by Blake Crouch. So for my sci-fi dystopian book, I'll be reading Recursion. It's giving Inception. So to recap, in August of 2026, I will be reading The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Long, That's Not My Name by Megan Lally, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, Slanting Towards the Sea by Lydia Hillier, Wolf by Paisley Hope, and Recursion by Blake Crouch. And this is why I do these kind of videos, because have you ever seen such a wide-ranging TBR? I don't think so. That is it for our August TBR. I am pumped. Hoping that I get to all these in August. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video today, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.